So let's face it, we're creatures of habit going to lower level games of high school and college football games because most of the time you get to halftime, you discuss a little bit about what happened in the first half, and then boom, some entertainment comes on. Usually a marching band, but it wasn't always that way. Timothy P. Brown of footballarchaeology.com joins us to tell us about some of those entertaining halftimes in the history of football. Tim's got more coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of pigskindispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And it is Tuesday, and we have some great items coming up today. Timothy P. Brown of footballarchaeology.com is joining us, as he does every Tuesday, to talk about some great football of antiquity and some really neat things. Tim, welcome back to the Pig Pen.
Hey, looking forward to chatting, Darren. Good to see you as always. And hopefully we'll be able to drum up some business for you, drum up some viewership. Along those lines, right?
That was a reach there. That was a reach.
Oh,
but I get it. I get it, but the audience might not.
I've reached before and I'll reach again.
But Tim's alluding to is he's segueing into halftime entertainment reaches Olympian levels was the name of his tidbit he did not too long ago. And it's got some kind of interesting things from different levels of football. So Tim, why don't you tell us about this tidbit?
Yeah. So this is one of those that was like kind of like a factoid feast where it actually includes three different stories in one or in one tidbit. But it was just kind of the idea that like nowadays, if it's a really big game, you're going to have like top name entertainers or something entertaining us, and there'll be dancers and all kinds of whatever going on. But back in the day, and especially like pre-World War I, most schools didn't even have marching bands, and if they did, they're like not the ROTC because that didn't exist, but it was they're like regimental, military band, Corps Cadets kind of thing. And but post World War I, you had all the marching bands, but still schools that don't have a big marching band, they got to find other things to do, or teams that don't have a marching band. So basically, kind of told three stories. One was the 1922 for sure, and then it was either 21 or 23, the Oorang Indians. And if people aren't familiar with them, they were an NFL team headlined by Jim Thorpe, an Olympian. And it kind of tells you something about the early NFL when a team is sponsored by a dog kennel, right? I mean, the NFL was not like a real highly professional organization at the time. A dog kennel from Oorang, Ohio sponsors a team made up entirely of Native American players, mostly from Carlisle and Haskell. So anyways, they, it's actually, part of it's actually kind of sad because I mean, at halftime, these guys would get out there and dress in Native American regalia. And there was one guy in particular, I forget his name, but anyways, he'd do like this snake dance. And then they'd have like, because this is sponsored by a kennel that bred Airedales, they would have these Airedales doing dog tricks at halftime, And then I think it was more like pregame, like Jim Thorpe would get out there and do like punting exhibitions and things like that. So that one made, that one makes sense. But it's just one of those things like, if you're in Oorang, Ohio, you probably don't have real high expectations for halftime entertainment. and the team lived up to it.
Yeah, that's for
They
sure.
lived up to the low expectations. But then there were, a couple others. One was that I, came across. One was the 1936 Hardin-Simmons Creighton game. So Hardin-Simmons, I'm not sure where they're from, Texas or something like that, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
somewhere further south. And but they were like the Cowboys, I think was their nickname at the time. Maybe it still is. And so they had a marching band that dressed up like they had the not spats because those are the
The
gangster
chaps.
chaps, yeah, chaps. So they had chaps, they wore 10-gallon hats and they were led onto the field by, some guy on a snow white pony. So they had a marching band, and that's what started the halftime entertainment at this game. But then in 1936, they also had a guy uh, named Alton Terry, and
Mm.
he was the reigning NCAA javelin champion. And he had also placed sixth in the javelin at the 1936 Olympics. So, pretty top-notch javelin thrower. And so part of the halftime entertainment was him throwing the javelin a few times, right? And each of the times he threw it about 80 yards, which is 240 feet, which isn't that. I mean, that's really really good, but it wasn't like a world record setting distance. And I threw the javelin in college, so I know that the javelin is like twice as heavy as a football. It's obviously more aerodynamic, and you get a running start, which helps, and you don't have to be anywhere near as accurate. you, know, you just got to get in between those lines. And so anyways, he did it, and there wasn't anybody down at the other end of the field to catch the javelin. But
Thank
so
God, or there'd been an ambulance on the field.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, it's just, I mean, it actually is kind of cool. I would love to go see a game where they had a javelin exhibition. 'Cause I think that would be really fun. But it's probably been a while since anyone has held one of those.
It's
But
probably a liability nightmare
yeah,
right now. So insurance would go through the roof.
but the 1936 Hardin Simmons Creighton game, if you were there, you had a you had a pretty good time. Um, and then the last Olympic halftime came in 1939. It was the St. Louis U at Washington U in St. Louis. And so, if you're not aware of it, the WashU hosted the 1904 Olympics, and what's now their football field and track, Francis Field, was the site of the track and field events there. And so, for halftime of that game, they had a cross country race. And so the runners started under the goalpost, took off, and they ran like 2.5 miles and through campus. And then on the other side of campus, on the east side of campus is Forest Park, which is kind of like a Central Park sort of thing for St. Louis. Big old park. So they ran in there and then turned around and came back. And then they finished under the same goalpost. So that was the entertainment. So while these guys are running, I have no idea what the stand or the people in the stands saw, other than they had taken off and then they eventually came back. But
That'd be a pretty long halftime because
well, they only ran 2.5 miles, so they were probably
okay, so they're under 20 minutes then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, um, but the thing that I thought was kind of funny about it was that the guy who came in first place was given this was a Thanksgiving Day game. So the guy who came in first place got a turkey. The guy who came in second got a goose, and the guy who came in third got a duck. Dressed, all of them were dressed. So, hopefully the runners ate well that night, or a night soon thereafter.
Right, yeah.
But those are that's kind of old time halftime entertainment. Some good fun was had by all.
Yeah. So do you know when like marching bands became sort of the thing at halftime entertainment?
You know, so I know for sure, I mean, some of them won't go back to the 1890s.
Okay.
And, but, and they were always like the military bands for the Corps of Cadets from the schools. Almost every school had some kind of Corps of Cadets at the time. And so, but I think that they mostly just stood in formation and like straight lines and stuff, because Purdue claims that they were the first band that like broke formation and formed in a P on a football field. So, And that I think was like pre-World War, just a couple years before World War One. So, 1914, 15, something in that era. And then it really was after the war, there were so many soldiers who had been in military bands and had learned precision marching and all that kind of stuff that then they started teaching the local kids wherever they were from, right? And that kind of spurred the band movement in American high schools. So, and universities too, but so that's when it really kind of took off. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah. I was never in the band, but I had some of my cousins were in a band, and they did some like basic formations like letters or circles or anything, nothing like Ohio State and dot in the I
yeah,
or anything like that. But they would have practices all summer long. I mean, they're
yeah,
like 3 or 4 hour practices. They had probably twice as much practice time as the players did, and they
yeah,
only got that 10 minutes of fame to be out there to do that. But those people work very hard to do
yeah,
their craft, plus play music while you're doing it. I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing to watch and
yeah. I
entertaining.
mean, my high school had a really, really good marching band. They, march in, bowl games and stuff like, the parades. And, but there were a couple guys who like at halftime of football games, they might go in the locker room for a few minutes, but then they'd be out in their football uniforms playing the trombone or whatever out there
Really?
marching with the band. So, it's pretty cool.
Geez, you never get to catch your wind.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think one of my bucket list things is I would love to go, and I guess I think they mainly do them at like HBCU, but see some of like the drum lines.
Yeah.
I think I've seen videos of it. I've seen TVs. I think they had a movie drum line. It just looks amazing to me, and just how it's choreographed and everything. It's just it'd be
Yeah.
a sight to see. That's a
Yeah.
bucket list someday.
Yeah. 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 Definitely I think it's Southern that has just like the crazy drum line that, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they're
there's
just
a few
so,
of them that have it,
yeah.
but I think that would be pretty entertaining. But that's not as good as a dog show or Jim
Oh,
Thorpe
no.
kicking a
Or
football
javelin
or
thrower.
javelin throw. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. Or
Nothing,
somebody catching a javelin throw. That would be even something else to watch.
yeah.
But
Well, nothing compares to that.
yeah. Tim, you have some of these great items in your tidbits that tell the story of football. Maybe some things that people aren't mainstream, and just like the halftime shows, who else talks about that and preserves that? But you. And I'd like to have you share with the audience where they can learn to have you see some of these things that you have come out on these oddities of football.
Yeah. So that's just, footballarchaeology.com is my site. It's, just Substack newsletter or blog, whatever you want to call it. You can also follow me I mean, you can subscribe once you're on Substack, or just go there and find it, whenever you're in the mood. Or you can follow me on Blue Sky under Football Archaeology. So any combination, whatever, works for you.
All right, Tim. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us, and love to have you on again next Tuesday.
Very good. Look forward to it. Thank you.
That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.